Live streaming has been really important to us during this season, as it's enabled hundreds of our students to be able to engage with learning without physically being on site in the college. It's been fantastic to speak to those in the classroom simultaneously to teaching those who are learning from their homes at the same time. It's been an essential resource for learning and education.
Hi, I'm Dave Sharpe from Novum AV, and in this episode we're looking at how many cameras you need and where you should place them. Now the answer of course is dependent on your circumstances, what you're filming and how you want to present your images. If you're hosting a small meeting or a discussion forum, then you may be using a platform such as Zoom or Microsoft Teams, and in this situation a small webcam is probably the most appropriate. In larger settings, if you're streaming a church service, you'll ideally need a minimum of 2 cameras, maybe even more. It's really important that you don't consider the cameras in terms of coverage here, as live streaming is very different from CCTV, where the aim is to capture a general sense of what's going on. To create a sense of intimacy and to produce some engaging content, you need to see the whites of people's eyes, which leads us to our first tip. Don't place the cameras too high. For security, a camera installed up and out of the way is quite desirable, but really we need to aim to keep them at eye level. Many churches are installing PTZ cameras to enable them to capture a range of different shots and angles, and in some circumstances it's not always possible to locate these at eye level due to obstructions such as pillars or columns or even faculty requirements. You can see from this image that a camera placed high might not give the same flattering view of the top of someone's head, but if lowered, seeing the whites of someone's eyes can help to create a real connection. Another thing to consider when trying to decide where to locate cameras is the sequence of images that you'll produce. For example, we're often asked to spread the cameras out quite wide, much like a CCTV system, but this would result in a sequence of images that look like this. And whilst there's nothing particularly wrong with either shot, the image from the side is more of an interest shot and would really be used a lot less frequently in the context of a live broadcast. In this sequence, you can see that whilst the cameras would be much closer together, the images produced are much more familiar and engaging. Of course, if you have the budget to install a camera at all 3 locations, then the possibilities really do begin to open up. Just a quick side note on this topic is when selecting your shots, try to mix up the framing as you move through the angles. For example, if you have a close-up tight shot from the front of a church, your next shot should really be either a wide or a medium profile shot, even if it's from another angle. It's just easier on the eye and it helps the mix establish context. So now we have some cameras, how do we frame our shots? The beauty of filming is that we get to draw focus and have a real sense of control about how people feel about the images they see. There's no hard or fast rules in creative disciplines, but there are some helpful guides to help people give a sense of familiarity and also help them engage with the images that we create. I've compiled a few tips here to help you frame your shots. Watch your headroom. To keep images engaging, it's important to fill your images with the focus. It's attempting to center a subject in the middle of your frame, both horizontally and vertically. But really we should aim to have the top of a subject's head approximately 10% down from the top of the image. Essentially, we're aiming to share an eye line with the viewer. Often, a yardstick could be to keep a subject's eyes approximately 1/3 down from the top of the image. Leading room and the rule of thirds. When framing a shot where a subject is facing from one side of the image, allowing a little space adjacent to them can offer some context, particularly if they're referring to something in their eye line. You do have to be careful when considering the rule of thirds not to create split interest shots, but I'll cover that in a moment. There is lots of content out there that cover the rule of thirds in depth, so have a browse on YouTube to get some more information. Avoid split interest shots. Split interest shots are one of the most common mistakes we see in the quest of creating engaging content. When we frame a photograph, we try to squeeze everything in. We do this because we're taking a snapshot and we have to try to show scale, depth, intimacy, interest all at one time. With filming and video content, we don't need to do that. We have multiple cameras to do this. If we have a subject talking to another on stage, it may be helpful to create an establishing shot, but we quickly want to engage with the person talking and cut in between tighter shots to ensure we can see the whites of the eyes and remain engaged with the content. Finally, keep experimenting. We're all on a journey with live streaming and no one has everything figured out. Even just watching TV or your favourite film is a really good source of education. Think about how a particular shot is framed and sequenced and how that made you feel. Keep playing and experimenting, and don't be afraid to make mistakes and learn from it. So that's it for now. Don't forget, if you need some professional advice, there's plenty of AV companies out there who specialise in live streaming for churches. We'd love you to consider Novum to help you on your journey, so please feel free to get in touch.
Nothing beats sitting on it, hearing it, tasting it, wearing it, handling it, trying it, comparing it.
The copier produces 1,000 copies for £4. The Riso digital printer produces 1,000 copies for £1.20 at 140 pages per minute.
Discussing it.
Interesting thing about this centre is a very difficult breed on a very small site.
Buying it. Recommending it. I definitely recommend it.
It's always good to have resources, and yeah, this is very resourceful, so it's a great place to be.
Nothing beats being here. Buy your tickets online now. creonline.co.uk/tickets.